The crystal chandeliers cast warm light across the marble floors of Le Bernardin, the city's most exclusive restaurant. Marcus Reed sat at his usual corner table, checking his gold Rolex while scanning the evening's financial reports on his tablet. At 38 years old, Marcus owned 3 luxury hotels and commanded respect wherever he went. His perfectly tailored suit, platinum cufflinks, and confident demeanor announced his wealth to everyone around him. Beside him sat his 8-year-old son Tommy, strapped securely in his custom wheelchair. The boy's bright blue eyes sparkled with curiosity as he watched the elegant waiters glide between tables carrying silver trays. Tommy's cerebral palsy made walking difficult, but his mind was sharp and his spirit unbreakable. He loved these dinner outings with his father, even though the fancy restaurant sometimes felt overwhelming. "Daddy, when will our food come?" Tommy asked, his speech slightly slurred but clear enough for those who listened carefully. "Soon, son." "Be patient," Marcus replied, barely looking up from his business documents. The restaurant hummed with quiet conversations, clinking silverware, and the soft notes of a piano in the background. Well-dressed patrons enjoyed their expensive meals, completely unaware that this evening would change everything for the Reed family. Nina Brooks balanced 3 plates on her left arm while carrying a water pitcher in her right hand. At 22 years old, she moved through the restaurant with practiced grace, her black uniform pressed and spotless. Nina had been working at Le Bernardin for 8 months, saving every penny for her nursing degree at City College. Her shift started at 4 in the morning, attending classes, then working until midnight to pay for tuition and help support her younger sister. Despite the whispered comments from some customers and the cold stares she received, Nina maintained her professional smile. She had learned to ignore the way certain patrons looked right through her, as if she were invisible. Some guests would barely acknowledge her presence, speaking only to make demands without ever saying please or thank you, but Nina refused to let their behavior break her spirit. She had dreams bigger than this restaurant, bigger than the prejudice she faced daily. Every rude comment, every dismissive gesture only strengthened her determination to become a nurse and help people who truly needed care. Tonight felt different somehow, though she could not explain why. Nina approached the Reed table with a warm smile, her notepad ready. "Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to Le Bernardin. May I start you with some appetizers tonight?" Marcus barely glanced up from his tablet. "We'll have the lobster bisque. Make sure it's hot this time. Last week, your people served it lukewarm." "Of course, sir. I'll make sure the kitchen prepares it perfectly," Nina replied politely, though the phrase, "your people," stung. Tommy smiled at Nina. "Hi. I like your earrings. They're pretty." Before Nina could respond, Marcus cut in sharply. "Tommy, don't bother the help. She has other tables to worry about." He looked at Nina with cold eyes. "And make sure you don't take too long. We're not here to wait around all night." Mrs. Hamilton from the neighboring table leaned over. "Marcus, you're too kind. These people expect tips no matter how slow they move." Her husband chuckled. "They should be grateful to even work in a place like this." Nina's jaw tightened, but she kept her professional composure. "I'll have your soup ready shortly, sir." Tommy watched his father's behavior with growing confusion. Something about the way the adult spoke made his stomach feel funny. Nina seemed nice, so why was everyone being mean to her? "Daddy, why did you say that?" Tommy whispered, but Marcus was already back to his business calls. The soft piano music suddenly swelled as a 3-piece jazz band took the small stage near the restaurant center. The saxophone player lifted his instrument, and smooth, soulful notes filled the air. The double bass joined in with a gentle rhythm that seemed to make the very walls pulse with life. Tommy's eyes lit up immediately. His whole body began moving slightly to the beat, his shoulders swaying despite being seated in his wheelchair. Music had always been Tommy's escape, his joy. At home, he would ask his nanny to play songs so he could move his arms and feel the rhythm flow through him. "Oh, I love this song," Tommy whispered, his voice filled with wonder. He watched as 2 couples near the bar stood up and began slow dancing. His small hands tapped against his wheelchair's armrests, keeping perfect time with the music, but then Tommy's smile faded. He looked down at his legs, then at his wheelchair, then back at the dancing couples. The longing in his eyes was unmistakable. He wanted to dance, to feel the music with his whole body, but shame washed over his face. Nina had just finished serving the Hamilton table when she noticed Tommy's expression. She saw the way his eyes followed the dancers, the way his hands moved to the music, and the sadness that crept across his features. Without hesitation, Nina walked over to their table. She knelt down beside Tommy's wheelchair, bringing herself to his eye level. "Hey there, sweetheart," she said gently, completely ignoring Marcus's sharp look. "I can see you love this music. Would you like to dance with me?" The surrounding tables fell silent, all eyes turning toward them. Tommy's face lit up like sunshine breaking through storm clouds. "Really? You want to dance with me?" "Of course I do," Nina said warmly. "Music this beautiful needs to be shared." She carefully helped Tommy stand from his wheelchair, supporting his weight with strong, gentle arms. Tommy's legs were unsteady, but Nina held him securely, letting him feel safe and supported. "Just lean on me, sweetheart. We'll move together, nice and slow." The saxophone melody wrapped around them as Nina began to sway gently. Tommy followed her lead, his face glowing with pure happiness. His left foot dragged slightly, but Nina adjusted her steps to match his rhythm perfectly. She spun him carefully, holding his hands as he giggled with absolute delight. "I'm dancing. Daddy, look. I'm really dancing." Tommy called out, his voice filled with wonder. The entire restaurant had gone completely silent. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. Conversations died mid-sentence. Every single person watched this young black woman and the disabled boy moving together with such grace and joy that it took their breath away. Mrs. Hamilton's hand flew to her chest, tears forming in her eyes. The businessman at table 12 set down his wine glass, completely mesmerized. Even the kitchen staff had gathered at the doorway to witness this magical moment. Marcus felt something crack deep inside his chest. His son's laughter echoed through the room, pure and innocent and absolutely beautiful. Tommy's face radiated happiness in a way Marcus had not seen in months. And Nina, this woman he had dismissed and disrespected just minutes ago, was giving his son a gift more precious than anything money could buy. She was not just helping Tommy dance. She was showing him that his limitations did not define his worth. She was treating him like any other child who deserved joy and acceptance. Marcus's throat tightened. His hands began to shake as he watched his son experience pure, uninhibited happiness in the arms of someone who had every reason to walk away from their table. Marcus sat frozen in his chair, watching his son laugh and spin in Nina's protective embrace. The sound of Tommy's pure joy cut through every wall Marcus had built around his heart. When had he become this person? When had he started seeing people as less than human based on the color of their skin? Nina had shown more kindness to his son in 5 minutes than most people showed in a lifetime. She had not hesitated, had not judged, had not seen Tommy's disability as something to pity or avoid. Marcus thought about his own words from earlier. "Your people. Don't bother the help." The phrases now sounded ugly and cruel in his mind. Nina was working multiple jobs to pay for college, serving customers who treated her like she was invisible, yet she still had enough compassion left to make a disabled child feel special. His chest burned with shame. Nina possessed something Marcus had lost somewhere along his climb to success. She had humanity, grace, and genuine love for others. Meanwhile, he had taught his son to witness cruelty and call it normal. What kind of father was he becoming? As the music ended, Marcus stood up slowly. His legs felt unsteady as he walked toward Nina and Tommy. The entire restaurant watched in silence. "Miss Brooks," Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. "I owe you an apology. My behavior tonight was inexcusable. You showed my son more kindness than I deserve." Nina gently helped Tommy back into his wheelchair, then looked at Marcus with quiet dignity. You also showed me something important about being human, Marcus continued. I would like to pay for your nursing education. Completely. It's the least I can do. Nina's eyes widened in surprise, then filled with tears of gratitude. Thank you, Mr. Reed. I forgive you. Tommy clapped his hands excitedly. Does this mean Nina can visit us? Marcus smiled genuinely for the first time in years. I hope so, son. Change had finally begun.